Hi, this is Jacqueline with Nickel and Dime Decor. The other day, my neighbor brought me over some fabric that she was having a garage sale and cleaning out, and it was a wonderful gift. And I've been thinking of how I can use some of the fabric. And this is a piece of fabric. Isn't that so pretty and so bright and so Thanksgiving-ish, if there's such a word? So I want to bring the camera down close and show you, but it's going to be a 9x13 Casserole Hot Pad. You know, when you set down a 9x13, you've got two hot pads underneath it. Well, why not just make one that fits it? And so that's what we're going to do, is make a 9x13. I cut it out 9.5 by 13.5 so that I could use a good 1/2 inch seam, or a little more than a 1/4 inch, because you want to do it. You don't want to do a 1/4 inch because it's liable to come out during the washing and using, and you know it's going to be handled kind of roughly. So a good 1/2 inch seam is important. Excuse me. So I had enough to make 4 of them, and now I'm going to pull the camera down and show you what I'm talking about. I have sandwiched together my piece, and I have a layer of Insulated with the shiny side up. I have a layer of batting, cotton batting, and then my backing. Now, there's my backing. Is that not beautiful? That's good enough and beautiful enough to be the front of it. And you know what? This will be reversible. You can use whichever way you want to go. This is a piece of fabric. I don't even remember where I got it. I have a lot of it, so I had something in mind, but for the work, I don't know what it was. That was too many years ago. I've used little bits and pieces of it, but you know, never made anything major with it. Okay. Then, oh, and look here at what I found for my binding. Isn't that beautiful? And see, this has a little bitty gold shimmer in it. You probably can't see it, but it's just got a little thread-like effect around the pumpkins and the leaves, and so I love this. It's going to be beautiful there as a binding. And I'm going to use this thread on top. It's kind of a mustard color, but I think it's going to blend in. But you know, you got all kinds of colors. You could have done most anything, but that's what I'm going to use on top. And then for this, I had this thread, and isn't that going to be pretty with that? I'm going to use that in my bobbin. So, and like I said, I have enough now. Now these aren't big enough for placemats. You know, I thought about that. I could have made placemats, but excuse me, I've got to blow my nose. But I thought I would utilize the fabric better by doing the 9x13 Casserole Hot Pads, because then I've got 4 different gifts. Or in November, about the middle of November, I think it is, around the 13th, they're having a church bazaar here in Amarillo, and I'm going to have a booth there, and I thought, oh, this will just be perfect. So that's all my plans. Now, I'm going to set up my machine, get my bobbin all ready, and then we're going to do a crosshatch. I don't know that you can see it, but I went down, this is 13 and a half, so half of that is 6 3/4. And I drew me a line right down the middle. Right down the middle, I just drew a line. And then I took my ruler and I went from that 1/2 inch, from that line right down the middle, I went over 1 1/2 inches, put my ruler there, and drew my line right there. That was kind of my starting point. Now I'm 1 1/2 inches from the middle to here. Let's see. It's hard to see my line. It's kind of disappeared on me. I need to redraw them, I guess. Redrew? I don't know, in such a word. Okay. Then I went 1 1/2 inches over. Drew my next line, 1 1/2, and so forth, all the way across. Then, to go this way, I did the same principle. I went to my middle line, went over 1 1/2 inches, and drew my line. And then I proceeded to go across. And the way it turned out is they cross up here at the top, right here. They cross right here in the middle, and they intersect right here on this row. So I'll have 3 different rows where they intersect. They go exactly across each other. So it's going to be a real good quilting on this. That's all you want, is just to quilt the top. You could do wiggly lines. That would be good. Just 4 wiggly lines and maybe 2 across this way. You can do that. You want to do just straight old lines, you can do straight line. Oh, about 1 1/2 or 2 inches apart. It's whatever you want to do. You don't need much. You're just holding this together is all you're doing, so that when they're washed, you know, they'll hold together. That's all you're doing with quilting on these. So instead of pinning, I have just used these because the pins are just, I don't want to have to worry about getting them out of my way all the time. So I just thought I'd just use these. And they hold everything together real good. And you, as you take them off, as you quilt, once you get just a couple of lines right here, then you're good to go. And you can take them off if you want to. So we'll get the machine set up and we shall proceed. I'm going to just go ahead and do my quilting, and then I'll come back and show it to you. And then maybe you'll understand how I drew my lines a little better. It'll be more visible to you. So I'll be right back. Okay. Here we go. Isn't it cute? And I love the way the points meet across. And I think the choice of thread was really, really good. Now look here. Isn't that pretty? Just going to be very, very nice. Okay. My videos are for beginners always, and so I thought we'd have a little review. Some of you don't know how to put a binding on. Some of you, a binding for some reason is very intimidating. So let's just have a short review. To find out how much binding you need, you measure. Well, quilting this, I told you I cut it 13.5. Quilting it, drew it up to 13. So that's why you want to do it a little bit bigger. And you measure 13 and 13 is 26, and 9 and 9, 18 and 26 is 44 inches. That's what I need, is 44 inches. But I like to add at least 8 inches when I join my ends. I just like that extra. We can always cut it off. So 8 and 44, I want 52 inches of binding. Well, I cut it down the grain, selvage to selvage, and it, of course, doesn't make 52 inches, so I cut another little strip, 9-inch strip, to go with my 40, I think this was 42, or 43, whatever. Now we're going to join them, and the way you join them is you take your right side and lay it down. You take your wrong side and lay it together. So you have right sides together. Then you pin it, and you draw a line with your marking pen from corner to corner. And we're going to sew that, and we'll just go ahead and do it. I'm going to sew it, and then we'll see how well we did. You know, this is like live TV. You don't know how it's all going to turn out, but hopefully it'll be just fine. Now, when you take this, finger press, just finger press to see if you need to make an adjustment. Sometimes it depends on which way you fold it down. You can fold it down and they meet perfectly. It's whichever way you like the best. Now, don't mess with this too much because this is on the bias, and you can stretch it real quick. But it looks good, and we'll just trim this little tiny bit off. So I'm going to press it. It looks good. And then we will trim this down to a 1/2 inch or a 1/4 inch, whichever you want to do. You can press it open. Pressing it open sometimes is the best way to go. Lays really, really nice that way. And it's easier when you put your binding on. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to just press it open. And trim this first and then press it open. Then you are going to fold it in half and press it. Do your whole binding. Okay? And then it's ready to put on. And then I'll come back and show you how to pin it on, and we'll put that on there and we'll be done in no time. Okay, we want at least 4 inches of our tail. And I didn't even tell you, but the binding I cut 2.5 inches wide, okay? And my 4 inches, I think I'm going to start about right here. And I'm going to use a 3/8 inch seam. And I'm going to show you how to do the corners and everything. When you start, be sure and go back and forth and secure this, because you're going to be tugging and pulling and everything. So be sure and go back and forth. Now when we get here to the corner, I'm going to take my tape measure and my marking pen, and before we even get there, I'm going to mark 1/4 inch from the edge of that right there. And I'm going to mark I don't know that that's 3/8. Yeah, that's 3/8, pretty good. Go over just a little. You can't see this on this fabric. Okay, now I've marked it. So we're going to go to there. I'm going to put my needle down. And then we're going to turn it. And we're going to take our needle out. We're going to pull this aside so we can see what we're doing. We're going to turn our binding to the north. It's what I call the north. You're going to put it right even with that edge. Right even with that edge. And then you're going to pull it back down while you're holding it. And then you're going to make it even with the top, even with the sides, and even with this over here. This is even, and this is even. And this meets, okay? Then you're going to put it back under your machine. And remember, we're doing 3/8. I'm going to go back. And we'll go down to the next corner. And we will mark it. we'll do this corner and then I'll finish and then we'll join it together. Pull your needle up, pull it out, draw your batting to the north, take your seam, meet it to the edge, and then pull it back down and meet this edge, meet this edge, and meet the sides. Put it back under the machine. And continue from there. Now, when you do your binding, there is your perfect mitered corner. There it is. So simple. Okay, I'll finish this and we'll meet around at the other where we join. Okay, we're ready to join our pieces. And put your right piece under, left piece over, and we want 2.5 inches off of here. We want this and this to be exactly 2.5 inches. This bottom piece you're going to measure 2.5 inches. Lay this right on top. Put this right even with that. And we're going to take our scissors and we're going to cut right at that pin. Okay, that's all the excess that we have. Now, 2.5 inches because that's the width of our binding. Okay, you do it just like we did when we joined our piece. You take that piece, fold this over. That's where it gets a little bundlesome, but take this piece and put right sides together, just like when you joined. Pin. You have to pin it together. You never get it. Pin it together. And pin it over here. Fold this up and fold this up. Okay. There it is, even though it's not laying real flat. Now we need to draw our line from here to corner, okay? And sometimes I like to just eyeball it when it's in an awkward position like this. Here's a little bitty ruler I think we can use. Be sure that's up there even. Be sure that's there. Okay. It's awkward, but now see, I didn't draw my line down there far enough, I don't think. Okay, there's our line, and we'll put it under there and see what happens. Take the pins out. First, make sure that you did it correctly, and we did it correctly, just perfect. Now we can trim it. And I'm going to quickly press it open. There we have it. You will never, ever find an easier way to put on a binding. It's just too simple. All right, we're going to sew the rest, go back up there where we quit. Well, lost my thread here for some reason. Just a second. You know, there's 100 different ways to put on a binding. And I was just a nervous wreck every time I did it until I found this foolproof way of doing it. I wished I could remember the lady. Oh, I would love to write her a special thank you. I saw her on YouTube, and she took all of the guesswork out of it for me. I just appreciate her so much, and I don't even remember who the lady was. Okay, you just start where you stitched, and you don't have to go back. Well, you can, a couple of stitches. If you are a little bit short, well, there's not much you can do if you're a little bit short. If you've got a little bit of ease, just ease it in. It's okay. If you're a little bit short, you'll just have to sew another piece on and do it over. But you won't do that. If you follow my directions, you won't do that. Well, we won't take the time, but let me fold this over as best I can and show you. I'll have it finished for my beginning picture, and you'll get the idea of what it looks like. But there it's going to be. It's just precious, and I love it. And find you some fabric like this. It so means the fall of the year and Thanksgiving. And isn't it lovely? I so hope you'll make one. And you will have the only 9x13 casserole hot pad there ever was made, because you made it. And it's so unique and just right. Thank you for watching, and God bless you. Love you all.